What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning into another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great Tuesday. It is a beautiful day out there. I hope you're all enjoying the sun. I myself was enjoying some sun, going to pick up my kid from school, and boom, got hit in the face with some news. And I know a lot of you are going to be excited about this news. A lot of people do not like having a number one defense. So we're going to talk about that. Any Cardinals fans tuning in, going to talk about Jonathan Gannon, what you guys got as a head coach. And then we're going to go into how the Eagles can replace this number one defense. How do you get a guy that has defense that breaks so many records, that holds teams to so little yardage? And, you know, it's going to be tough for sure. But appreciate each and every one of you taking the time today. You got any questions, any comments in here, please feel free to leave them down below. Let me know how you're feeling about this move. Are you with me? Do you think it's going to be tough to replace him? Or are you on the side with Dan Sileo? Do you think we should go more bottom tier defense, blitz every play, and allow teams to pass all day on us? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I see plenty of them out there right now. People going wild. So let's jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Gannon, now the Cardinals head coach. And we talked about this before the season started. You know, would Gannon and Steichen even be here? Probably not, especially if we go win that Super Bowl. Well, we didn't win the Super Bowl, but we sure did make it, and both of these guys are now gone. So we talked about Steichen earlier today, officially hired by the Colts as their head coach. Go check that video out. But right now, right here, Jonathan Gannon is the Cardinals' new head coach. And, you know, when we got these two guys, you know, it was like, holy crap, we've got two of the brightest minds in the game. And you saw how great the Eagles defense has been the last 2 years. And last year, with a very, very small amount of talent, a lack of talent. Look, it's the NFL, not to knock anybody, but the talent was nowhere near where it is this year. And we were number 10 in defense this year, number 2. And that's pretty phenomenal, better than Buddy Ryan, Jim Johnson ever did, especially in their first 2 years. So pretty phenomenal stuff. And we all know this is the new defense. This is the defense you want to have in the NFL. What you don't want is miscommunications by your players, people getting twisted, guys wide open. That is not something you want to see, and that obviously happened to the Eagles on Sunday. Now, for any Cardinals fans watching, you're going to hear a lot of the Eagles media, guys like Dan Sileo. They don't know what they're talking about. They said that Hurts couldn't develop. They said fire Howie, fire Nick Sirianni before we made it to the Super Bowl. So just to give you an idea, the gauge of their intelligence, not very high. So this guy, one of the top dogs in the league, and obviously last year we were afraid we were going to lose him. Now this year we do lose him. So Cardinals, you got yourself a stud of a coach. This dude, he's great with the players. He is just a great mind. Phenomenal at, you know, this new league, what the offenses are doing. He is great at shutting them down. He was number 1 against the pass this year in yards per game, yards per completion, yards per attempt. Number 1 in sacks, his team was. So you're getting a barn burner. So that defense probably about to get kicked up a notch. Interesting to see who you'll get as an offensive coordinator. But let's take a look at what Gannon has done on his resume here. So started as a student assistant with Louisville back when I was still in high school. Holy hell. Graduate assistant at Louisville then in 2006. Then he moved on to the NFL as a defensive quality control coach with the Falcons in 2007. Then he took on the same job 5 years later with the Titans for a couple years there. Then you have assistant defensive back coach for the Vikings for a few years there. And then a defensive back coach for the Colts for 3 years there. And obviously that was the job he had before he joined the Eagles and Nick Sirianni for the last 2 years. And clearly a phenomenal job he did. So you get yourself a great coach here. And the Eagles, you know, you're going to hear it from the Dan Sileos, the Seth Joyners. You know, we got to get somebody that blitzes every play. You know, one of the worst ideas ever. You're going to hear a lot of that stuff. And honestly, what we need to do is try to find the same mindset, the same style defense, because we have a lot of the pieces already in place. You just need to go out in free agency, bring a couple people back, sign some others, draft some people, and this defense will be right back in business. So the question is, how do the Eagles replace Jonathan Gannon? How do you go out and replace the top defense in the league? Well, you can't just go out and do that. So you got to look for somebody with that same mindset And, we talked about, some other candidates throughout the last couple of weeks here that Sean Desai. I just saw some people bringing him up. The young mind who was a coach. He played at Temple, assisting. But he's a very bright young mind who has some Fangio dealings as well. So he's got that same mindset as Vic Fangio, Jonathan Gannon, the new mindset for defense in the NFL. It's the right mindset. So we want to try to stay on that track, in my opinion. I know I've seen Rex Ryan. I've seen some really wild things out there. Lovie Smith, all kinds of stuff. Wild stuff. Defenses that are prehistoric at this point. Defenses that would get eaten alive. You thought losing by 3 points right at the end of the game was bad. Imagine blitzing Patrick Mahomes every play, what that would do to you. You would get eaten alive. We would have lost by 40 points. So I'm not in that boat. I know a lot of people feel if you have a bad defense, you'll be a better team. For me, having a good defense was great to watch. I've missed having a great defense, so I actually enjoyed it. But let's take a look at this staff. It wasn't just Gannon. He had a lot of guys with him here. So let's look at the guys Sirianni has to choose from here on his staff. And again, you could grab somebody, that isn't on our staff, somebody else's staff, or just sitting out there, whatever it may be. But here are the guys on our staff: Denard Wilson, D-backs coach, and I guess I messed that up. He's actually the passing game coordinator and defensive back coach. I don't know what the hell I did there, but sure. Tracy Rocker, defensive line coach. Nick Rallis, linebacker coach. Jeremiah Washburn, defensive end / outside. So edge rushing coach is Jeremiah Washburn. And then DK McDonald, the assistant defensive back coach. Tyler Scudder, defensive assistant. And Joe Casper, the defensive quality control guy. So you see some in-house names here. And there is one I've been talking about, well, since we actually brought him in last year. But this offseason, we talked about the fact that if we lose Gannon, this is my guy. I've seen the media finally catching up, learning who Denard Wilson is, and you love to see it because this is that guy. So he started as a scout, actually, with the Bears, had a few years there, 4 years. Hey, let's go. And then went on to the Rams as a defensive quality control coach and then defensive back coach with the Rams from 15 to 16, DB's coach for the Jets. And then he got the passing game coordinator title added, obviously defensive, for the Jets in 19 and 20. Then he was a defensive back coach for the Eagles, 21 and 22. And we added the passing game coordinator title this past season. So that was what you missed on that last page. I don't know why the hell I wrote the same thing twice, but you see he's got a good resume. But the one thing we've talked about, throughout this, and first off, let's take a gander at the woman behind him, straight mean mugging his ass, looking like she's ready to drop kick him. Just noticed that. But anyways, Denard Wilson, man, he will run the same type of defense, in my opinion. He is the kind of guy that they've talked about, since we signed him, how great he is with the players, how smart of a guy he is, helping with that pass game coordination. So to me, he's a no-brainer. Elevate him, allow him to run this defense because this is the defense you want, regardless of what Dan Sileo says. This is the defense you want. So for me, Denard Wilson would be the easiest decision here, but there are a couple guys we mentioned in-house that, hey, maybe I would take a stab at. So Tracy Rocker, he's been around the way, started at Auburn High. Let's go. Defensive coordinator back in 92, 93 when I was 6-7 years old. Let's go. Defensive line coach then at West Alabama, Troy State, Cincinnati, Arkansas, Ole Miss, holy Auburn. And then he went on to the NFL in 2011 to the Titans, where he was a defensive line coach again. Then you see he got assistant head coach added to his title when he went to Georgia in 2014, spent 3 years there before going back to the Titans, spending 3 years as their defensive line coach, then going to South Carolina for a year before becoming the Eagles defensive line coach the past couple years. Guy is a genius. You have seen what he has done. The Eagles, first team in NFL history with 4 players over 10 plus sacks, 70 sacks, third in NFL history. Holy hell. So let's go. That dude, I love the guy. I'm not sure exactly, how much of a defensive coordinator he could turn out to be, but he's somebody that is definitely in-house that you could consider. Now, a younger guy that maybe seems like a wild card here, but I like Nick Rallis. I've liked him since we brought him in. This young man, he just has it, man. I don't know. He's just got that football attitude. Used to play at Minnesota. And look, you see, he's been coaching for a few years here. Quality control coach at Wake Forest in 2017. Then defensive quality control for the Vikings for a couple years there. Then he got assistant linebackers coach added to his resume in 2020 before becoming the full-time linebackers coach for the Eagles in 2021. And this dude, I don't know. I feel like he would run this same exact defense, but he's younger. He's got that younger mindset. And I'm not saying Jonathan Gannon didn't do that. And Jonathan Gannon was definitely aggressive. We were middle of the pack with blitzing. During the postseason, we started blitzing more. But it's a perfect balance. But I think Rallis would find that perfect balance, and he would find ways to create pressure without having to blitz. And look, that's just the few candidates I have in house. But again, there are plenty of names out there. I've heard, Mike Zimmer running the same style of defense. Sure. A lot of guys that I would consider, but the guys I'm looking at are the ones that run that same style of defense. I want to, again, be one of the top defenses in the league. That's where my head's at. I know Dan Cilio is going to disagree, but that's okay. He also said Hurts couldn't develop, so I can't take anything he says with really any grains of salt. Davis and Reddick wouldn't be shocked if we switch to 3. No, we already run odd fronts. We've run that the last 2 years, actually. So, no, we won't be switching. We already run that, my man. Yo, what is going on, Dante? Appreciate you tuning in, my dude. Hope you're having yourself a great week so far. Just here talking about the Eagles coaching changes. But if you guys have any thoughts, opinions, whatever it may be, let's go. Get him out off season already. Yeah, I don't know, man. Losing the top defensive coordinator, not really a good thing. But hey, hopefully we can find an in-house replacement. I know Dan Cilio is probably pretty excited about this, but I'm telling you, having a good defense is a good thing, regardless of what they say. Schwartz is the Browns defensive coordinator. Who's talking about Jim Schwartz? Who's proven like Chiefs getting Spagnuolo is terrible. Some who's coach big news. Who's the Dan guy you keep mentioning? Dan Cilio. That's who everybody keeps getting all this stuff from. You have to blitz every play. Jonathan Gannon needs to be fired. Hurts needs to be traded. Fire Howie. Fire Nick Sirianni. All that stuff comes from him. So, but yeah, whoever's talking about Jim Schwartz, no thanks, man. I don't think people realize how much they hated him. Whoo, my Lord, was that tough. But yeah, he's just one of those people, one of the talking heads that gets everybody riled up and gets them repeating this stuff that clearly has absolutely no knowledge backed by it. So, a DCU coaches multiple fronts. Yes, that is what we just had. So we're hopeful to get another defensive coordinator just like that, because that is the style you want to run, that Vic Fangio style defense. And, Vic Fangio obviously got the job with the Dolphins now, so you can't have him. But it was nice to have Gannon, a protege of that system. And I think we're just going to be looking for another protege, because you want to have that again. In a passing league, you want to be the number one team against the pass. You want to be the number one team with sacks. That is actually a good thing. I think it's crazy that people don't like that, but I enjoy being good. Lovey Smith, no thank you. I'm good on the Tampa 2. We all saw how destroyed that kind of defense gets in today's league. So that's kind of going back to what I'm saying. I know that people think that if you run the same systems that's 20 years ago, that you will find the same success. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I've seen it throughout the day, and it is very confusing. And this is why I try to say, if people could just learn a little bit, they would probably not get taken by Dan Cilio so many times. But it is what it is. Yeah, he actually works for that Jacob Sports, and the amount of things he had people twisted on, the Russell Wilson stuff, the Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Garoppolo, we got to trade for him. It was bad this offseason. We all see that. So no, thank you. No, I went with Brian Johnson, as I talked about earlier in the video. If any of you guys missed that video on Shane Steichen, go check that out. We talked about that earlier today when that move went down. But you see, Jonathan Gannon is now good. Congrats to the Cardinals. Best of luck to you, Gannon. Thank you for having a top 10 defense the last 2 years. Number 2, in my opinion, the best defense this year. Very grateful for that. Sucks we couldn't pull the trigger there in the Super Bowl, but I do appreciate making it. I know I'll probably feel better about it in a day or two, at least to the extent where I can be proud of them. I'm still pissed off that we lost. It's ruining my days. I'll be real with you, but it is what it is. But look, guys, I told you I'm working on that stuff. I'll get all the off-season stuff you need to know with the salary cap, all the people we can re-sign, do all that stuff, and then I'll get you with the free agents. I'll hit you with the draft stuff. Do not let the media get you twisted. I know that they are pissed we made the Super Bowl and they predicted that we wouldn't even make it to the playoffs. That's good. That's fine. They are beaten to a pulp and we need to keep them there. I'm all about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate each and every one of you taking the time. Yes, we need to run the same. I agree with Ted. We need the same kind of defense we just had. Exactly. We need the same thing. Who stays, who goes? Yes, I will do the same thing I do every year, always. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you got anything from this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button down below. You can always subscribe, join us live when we're talking birds. But if anything else crazy happens, we find out who the new coordinators are, I will jump back on. But as I told you, going to wait until this weekend to get any of these shows pumped out, but I will have all that information for you when it comes to the cap, who we can restructure, how we can create more money, who makes sense to extend, all that great stuff you need to know, because you know the media has already started. The Eagles have no money. They're negative gas. Look, man, you guys have to have at least an elementary education in math to understand. I mean, you should have way further than that if you think you're going to understand the NFL cap. But if they could start with basics, that would get them a long way. And it's embarrassing at this point. And don't worry, I will continue to dog walk these people this offseason, just as I did this past one. So I'll bring all that information you need. But if you need anything else, please feel free to reach out. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You stay safe out there. And as always, go Birds!